Some mornings, silence doesn't bring peace. It clings to your skin like a warning. Natalie Wynne stood in the kitchen, bathed in the pale light of a St. Dorian winter. The wall clock ticked slowly, as if even time was hesitant to move forward. A fresh cup of coffee sat in front of her, untouched, still warm, but completely unnecessary. Since Ethan started coming home late, she had learned to wait without caffeine. Upstairs, Ava and Leo argued over a red glove. The twins were 8, identical to their father in every way. Natalie still remembered the first time she saw them in the delivery room. Tiny, fragile, perfect. They made every sacrifice feel worth it. She had believed that. Completely. Ethan once told her she was the heart of the family. Now, he rarely said anything at all, except things like, "I've got a consult meeting today," or, "I'll just sleep at the hospital, it's easier." Natalie had stopped asking, not because she trusted him, but because she understood. You don't always need shouting to leave a marriage. Sometimes silence is loud enough. That morning, she opened her laptop to pay the bills. A banking alert popped up. Unusual transaction, $9,800, Port Vale Biosolutions. A name she'd never heard. An amount Ethan had never mentioned. Her fingers froze on the keyboard. Something cold rolled in her stomach. Not suspicion, but confirmation. And strangely, she wasn't even shocked. She just felt still, as if her soul had walked ahead of her body and found the truth first. She didn't know what Port Vale Biosolutions was, but she knew Ethan wasn't the type to send 10 grand to strangers, and no surgeon worked 5 nights in a row for emergency meetings. Natalie looked out the window. The purple chrysanthemums on the balcony had withered since autumn, but she hadn't trimmed them. There was something in their fading form that mirrored her. Still standing, slowly breaking, not yet fallen. She closed the laptop, walked to the bathroom, faced herself in the mirror. Her face hadn't changed much in 10 years, but her eyes had. Once soft, now sharp. She dried her hands, tied her hair up. Ethan thought she'd look the other way, like always. But not this time. This time, Natalie Wynne would follow it to the end. Natalie started with the smallest things. Not because they were the most important, but because they were the easiest to overlook. And she knew betrayal always began in the harmless places. Port Vale Biosolutions. The name lingered in her mind like a splinter that refused to be pulled out. After dropping the kids off at school, she opened her laptop. Private browser. Careful typing, as if the website might bite back. Port Vale Biosolutions, leading fertility and gene therapy center in North Elm. Partnered with major medical institutions. Specialties: IVF, embryo screening, prenatal monitoring. She stopped at the clinic history section, founded 8 years ago, right when she and Ethan were drowning in infertility treatments. Natalie remembered it all: the hormone injections, the bruises on her skin, and Ethan whispering, "I'll take care of you forever. Just don't give up." That promise now sounded like fingers tapping on an empty table. She leaned back, trying to connect the dots. Why was Ethan still tied to an IVF clinic when they already had kids? Why hadn't he said a word? And why did that charge come from their joint account? Natalie decided to do something she swore she never would. She opened the safe in his study. The code? Leo's birthday. Too easy. Inside, patient records, tax returns, copies of consulting contracts. And one folder labeled Research Partnership Agreement, Port Vale, Internal Use Only. She flipped through quickly, not to read, but to spot what didn't belong. And there it was, a signed research consent form. But the signature wasn't Ethan's. It read, Patient Representative N. Wynne. She froze. She had never signed anything like that, but the handwriting looked just like hers. A forged signature, with her name. The feeling of someone stealing her name, her trust, pressing it into a deal she never agreed to, made her hands tremble. Just then, the doorbell rang. Natalie jumped like a thief caught in her own house. But it was just a delivery. She signed, closed the door, and stood there for 10 seconds, heart pounding out of rhythm. Back at her desk, she opened a new tab. This time, she searched. Private paternity test, discreet services. As she downloaded the DNA collection form, one thought echoed in her mind. If my children aren't his, then what is this marriage built on? It wasn't jealousy. It wasn't rage. It was the need to know. Natalie walked upstairs. Leo's uniform shirt was still draped over the chair. Ava's toothbrush sat in its usual glass. She collected 2 hair samples, wrapped them carefully in foil, labeled them separately. Then she opened Ethan's closet, pulled out a white dress shirt. She'd washed it hundreds of times. This time, she only needed 1 hair. That night, when Ethan came home, she smiled. Was your surgery okay today? He nodded, didn't look her in the eyes. Same as always. She poured him wine. Same as always. Except this time, she knew. She knew something was cracking. And this time, she would find the first fracture herself. 3 days later, the email arrived. Subject line, paternity test results, case number W1137X. So simple, it was cruel. Natalie didn't open it right away. She just stared at the line sitting quietly in her inbox, like a bomb that hadn't been triggered yet. Outside, sunlight slanted through the kitchen window, casting a shadow over the wooden table, the one Leo always used at breakfast. She remembered what he once asked her. Mom, if I'm different from Dad, does that mean something's wrong with me? Back then, she had smiled, stroked his hair, told him there's no such thing as wrong when someone is born from love. Now, she wasn't so sure. Natalie stood up, locked the front door, closed the blinds, then walked back, sat down, and took a deep breath. She clicked. Sample comparison. Subject A, Ethan Wynne. Subject B, Ava Wynne, child. Subject C, Leo Wynne, child. Result, no biological paternity relationship detected between Subject A and Subject B. No biological paternity relationship detected between Subject A and Subject C. The words weren't cold, they weren't cruel, they were just honest. And that honesty made her body go cold from the inside out. She read it again. Once, then again. Not his child, not his child, not his child. The children she had carried for 10 months, birthed in blood and pain and hope, didn't share a drop of his DNA. And worse, he knew. She remembered the one time Ethan had offered to deliver the IVF sample himself. She had been running a fever from hormone treatments. He said, "You rest. I've got it covered." His voice was so gentle, she had felt guilty even thinking of saying no. Now she understood. That kindness had been the thread sewn into a wound he created. That afternoon, she picked up Ava and Leo from school. She smiled like always, told them stories, suggested ice cream, turned on soft music in the car. They chattered all the way home, completely unaware their mother had just lost faith in an entire part of her life. Natalie didn't cry. She didn't scream. Just one feeling moved through her: isolation. Not because she had been betrayed, but because now she realized she was the only one who had chosen to be a parent. That evening, Ethan came home and hung his coat like he always did. Natalie was sitting at the dining table, her fingers resting lightly on the printed test results. She looked up. Her eyes were calm, unnaturally calm. "Perfect timing," she said, voice steady and quiet. "We need to talk." Ethan didn't know. Or if he did, he didn't show it. Natalie never put the DNA results on the table that night. When she saw him standing in the doorway, white coat sleeves rolled to his elbows, file in hand, tired crease on his brow, she knew. Not yet. Because if she wanted the full truth, Ethan had to believe she was still in the dark. Natalie had never been good at pretending, but that night, she played the part to perfection. "Have you eaten?" "Still at the hospital till 8. What did you make?" "Red wine pasta, your favorite." She watched him eat, silently. Every movement was familiar. But for the first time, she realized she didn't know this man at all. The next morning, Natalie went to Port Vale Biosolutions. No appointment, no plan, just the need to see it with her own eyes. The building sat tucked behind a small park, sleek, glassy, clinical. The October sun bounced off its mirrored surface, keeping everything out and everything in. The receptionist greeted her with a rehearsed smile. "Good morning. Are you here for a consultation?" "I'm a former patient, Natalie Wynne. One moment while I check the system." Natalie waited, scanning the room. Young couples holding hands, faces filled with hope. She used to be one of them. She remembered counting ovulation days like counting chances not to fail. "I'm sorry, Ms. Wynne. We no longer have your records. You may have been part of a research-linked program. Those were managed separately." "A research program?" "Yes, it was handled in the West Wing. For clinical trial participants. That wing was shut down last year." Natalie thanked her, walked away. But instead of heading to the exit, she turned left. Frosted glass, a sign in bold, restricted access, authorized personnel. Only she didn't try to enter. She didn't need to. She took a photo of the sign, pulled out her phone, and dialed. "Sage, I need a favor. Remember that time you worked with the North Elm Medical Review Board?" "I remember. Natalie, are you okay?" "Number, but I will be." That afternoon, while Ethan was in the shower, Natalie picked up his phone from the desk. His passcode was still Ava's birthday. Too predictable. Too trusting. There was nothing in his messages. But under Sent Emails, she found a thread, short but revealing. "Don't worry, she doesn't suspect anything. Same place Thursday? Your perfume's still on my coat. Be more careful next time." No names, no address, no photos, but it was enough. Natalie took screenshots, sent them to herself using a private email account, one Ethan didn't know existed. When he came out, towel slung over one shoulder, hair damp, eyes half closed, she had already placed the phone back, right where he left it. She smiled. "You have an early shift tomorrow?" "Yeah, leaving early." "I'll prep your coffee." She poured them both a glass of wine, like nothing had happened, but inside, she had marked a date, Thursday, and a mission, not for jealousy, not for revenge, but because she needed to understand the entire structure of betrayal. Ethan hadn't just lied. He had built an entire world and cast her as a supporting role. Now, Natalie Wynne, once written to the sidelines, was rewriting the script. Thursday. It was raining. Not a downpour, just a fine mist tapping against the car windows, like ink bleeding from a confession yet to be spoken. Natalie sat in her old hatchback, parked across from a luxury apartment building on Pinehurst Street. Glass entrance, keycard access. 9:08 a.m. Ethan had entered the building 18 minutes earlier. She knew, because she had been counting. That morning, Ethan wore a pale blue shirt instead of his usual white coat. No trace of hospital antiseptic. Only a faint woody cologne and something else. Deliberate effort. He kissed Ava and Leo on the forehead, just like always. To Natalie, he said, "I've got back-to-back meetings at the center. Might be late." Then he left, and from a side street 3 blocks away, Natalie followed his silver Audi as it pulled out. The building, 171 Pinehurst, wasn't near the hospital. It wasn't a research facility either. Natalie didn't need Google Maps to know this place wasn't random. She sat in the car, AC off. The air turned heavy, like the moment before a storm. 9:22. A familiar figure passed through the glass doors. Tall, dark brown hair tied neatly, black pencil skirt, white blouse, coffee in hand, heels silent, but her stride unmistakable. Confident, upright, certain. Lauren Keene, head nurse, cardiology. Ethan had mentioned her once, casually but not carelessly, over dinner. Transferred from Seattle, efficient but chatty. Then he smiled. At least she's cute. Natalie watched Lauren swipe in. The door opened. She didn't glance around, didn't hesitate. Too familiar, too comfortable. 9:26. Natalie stepped out of her car. Each footstep on the sidewalk felt like a quiet drumbeat to her chest. But she wasn't shaking, wasn't scared. She just needed the illusion to end. Either shatter it or drive her fist straight through the glass. The front desk was managed by a middle-aged woman labeling folders. Natalie approached with a calm smile. "I'm here to see Ethan Wynn. He came up about 30 minutes ago." "Do you have an appointment?" "Number, but he's expecting me. I'm Dr. Brookfield, genetics specialist." The name came without thought. Someone real, someone Ethan avoided mentioning. The receptionist paused, then swiped her card. 9th floor. The elevator opened to soft carpet, warm lighting, and a faint hint of perfume. Unit 902. Laughter drifted from behind the wooden door. Soft, intimate, definitely not professional. Natalie stood still for a moment. She pulled out her phone, switched to video, pressed the doorbell. Inside, hushed footsteps, then stillness. A few seconds later, the door opened halfway. Ethan, no jacket, shirt unbuttoned at the collar, lipstick still smudged along his neck. He froze, like someone slapped with ice. "Natalie?" She raised her phone, filmed from his face to the hallway behind, where Lauren stood in full view, too late to hide. 2 identical coffee cups in her hands, one already half empty. "I thought I should speak with Dr. Brookfield," Natalie said evenly. "About the honesty gene, seems you're missing it entirely." Ethan said nothing. Couldn't. She turned and walked away. No more words needed. Back in her car, Natalie didn't cry. She started the engine, pulled away from the curb, and wondered why her heart felt so light. Maybe because, for the first time in years, she didn't have to guess. Didn't have to forgive out of fear. Didn't have to hold on to something that was never really hers. She had seen enough. And now, the counterattack had begun. 2 days later, the house on Riverfield Street fell into a strange kind of silence. No small talk. No evening wine. Ethan left early, came home late. His footsteps got quieter by the day, as if afraid to touch something that was already breaking. Natalie didn't ask. She didn't reach for him. She didn't glance toward the study he no longer used. She let Ethan live in the illusion that he was still in control. Sunday morning. He came downstairs with his tie undone, watch missing from his wrist. Natalie sat at the kitchen table. A stack of papers rested between them. Next to it, her phone, facing up, playing the video from Thursday. Ethan froze in the doorway. "Sit down," she said. "We have things to discuss." He didn't sit. You came back? For what? To remember, to document, for the lawyer, and to let you know. Your performance is over. Ethan tightened his grip on the handle of his briefcase. His eyes searched for an escape, just like always. But this time, she wouldn't let him run. Don't say you're sorry, she continued. You're not sorry. You're just sorry you got caught. Ethan opened his mouth, then shut it. Natalie slid the folder across the table. DNA results, Ava and Leo. He didn't touch it. His face turned pale. You knew, didn't you? Silence. She gave a small nod. You knew from the beginning, because it was your decision. You never intended to risk passing on your condition. You didn't ask me. You didn't tell me. You just controlled everything. I just wanted to protect you. You didn't Don't call me you in that tone again, Ethan. Her voice didn't rise, but it cut like glass. I'm not the woman who waited at home anymore, and you no longer get to decide what I understand. She stood, one hand still resting on the table. Now, I'll set the rules. I'm not going public, yet, because of Ava and Leo. They don't need to know what kind of man their father really is, not now. But I've saved everything, DNA, video, emails. My lawyer has copies. I'm not suing you, but I'm not backing down either. We're getting a divorce, not on your terms, on mine. I will have full custody. I will keep the house, and you will stay out of my life unless written notice is given in advance. One violation, and I send everything to the North Elm Medical Ethics Board and Port Vale's Board of Directors. Ethan narrowed his eyes. His voice dropped into a hiss. Are you blackmailing me? No, Natalie said, smiling slightly. I'm restoring balance, something you destroyed without asking permission. She pulled a USB from her pocket, placed it beside his still warm coffee cup. You can check it. Every file has a timestamp. Then she turned to leave. You have 1 week to sign the agreement. If not, my lawyer will deliver the documents to the hospital. At the doorway, she paused. This isn't revenge, Ethan. I'm rebuilding my world. And to do that, I need you out of it. That afternoon, Natalie took Ava and Leo to the park. She sat on an old wooden bench, holding a half-read book, watching the kids laugh and swing in the fading light. The breeze caught her hair, carrying away the scent of morning coffee, of lies, of everything old. What remained was silence. Not the kind that suffocates, but the kind that follows the first brick laid in the foundation of something new. The house was quiet now, but in a different way. No footsteps, no midnight calls, no leather jacket by the door. Ava and Leo noticed. They didn't ask, but their eyes said everything. One night, Ava whispered, Is Dad on a long trip? Natalie pulled her close. No, sweetheart, he's not on a trip. We just need time apart, but I'm still here, always. The next week, Natalie rewrote her mornings. At 6 a.m., she ran by the lake. No more waiting for the sound of Ethan leaving. Now, the time was hers. She drank coffee, just 1 cup. She read about rebuilding, not medicine. She updated her resume, sent out job applications. Her cover letter was simple. I paused my career to raise 2 kids and support my husband. Now I'm ready to return, stronger. By Friday, a school called back. We loved your honesty. We'd be lucky to have you. That afternoon, Natalie passed by the art house gallery. A painting caught her eye, a faceless woman in the forest, holding light in her hand. The one who chose the light. She bought it without a second thought. Hung it where the wedding photo used to be. That night, dinner was simple. Pasta, salad, brownies she made with Leo. No wine, no guests, no empty chair, just them. Are you going to teach again? Leo asked. Yes, she smiled. Very soon. Will it be our class? Ava asked. Number but kids like you? Definitely. They laughed, and for the first time, Natalie saw them clearly. Not through marriage, not through someone else's eyes, just them, just her, their world, and she was choosing to rebuild it. Later that night, she stood on the porch. The sky was still, the stars cold, the wind soft, pushing her forward. Tomorrow wouldn't be easy, but it would be real, and that was enough. She was free. Not because someone let her go, but because she let go first.